Have a wait until callback function. Okay, this function is something that the GPT gave me a sort of template for. Yeah, that is not something that I would usually do. I would probably either use like a state machine or a bool return or something, but that's worth learning about, I think. So let's ask GPT how we use that. Alright, this is new for me. We're learning. I've used callback functions before, but normally what you would do is you would set up like, I'm trying to think, you set up like an invoker. Like my texture system has this, right? If we go into my texture, it's not something I've used very much, I gotta be honest. But if we go to my texture request system, my texture request has the ability to process text request. This is where the magic happens. So we can send like a callback, a response out. There we go. We can send like a response out. So we can either apply it directly to like a raw image component, which is what I normally do because it's just quicker and easier. But we can also send it out as like a response, and then we can look for that response to come back in the invocation script, and then we can do like special things with it if we need to. Now my gacha system actually does utilize that, because my gacha system like does things after it receives them back, basically, because it has to like sort them and do things with them. But it's normally easier just to send it out to a raw image component object directly. So I'm not sure how that is meant to work exactly. So let's see if we can. This is my. Yeah. Okay, let's see what GPT has to say about that. Perfect. You're at the point where you need to bridge your UI system, Battle Action UI, with the battle loop. Run manual mode. Right now, run manual mode is waiting on player chose action flag, but your UI buttons don't actually set that flag or tell the battle system what action was chosen. So let's wire it up cleanly. Yeah, I want to see how it goes about doing this. So in your battle runner, add a field to store the player's chosen action. Okay, so we're just using enums. I mean, that's straightforward enough. So we're going to set up an enum of player action type where we have non-attack, skill, or ultimate. Player action type, chosen action, get private set, player action type, none. An action type, get private set, player action type, none. Okay, I'm not sure about that part. Public bool, player chose action, lambdas to chosen action does not equal player action type, none. What? I'm so confused. And then called by UI, public void set player action type action, chosen action equals action. So these are declarations. So these should probably go at the top of the script so that things can be organized. So let's stick these at the top. I'm not sure what. So these are all related to the action callback system. So let's mark it as such. So this is for action callbacks. Okay. Player action type. This one's straightforward. This part I understand. It's a simple enum. Player action type, chosen action. Maybe setting it up like this allows us to call the function automatically without actually calling the function. I'm confused though, right? Because it feels like we're wiring it up from two separate ends here, right? Because, okay, let me just show you where my heads are. Where's your head at? So right now we've got public enums, right? Which have like names. So we have like, we've got like attack, we've got skill, we've got ultimate, and that's public. I already said public, right? So this is like a variable on a script. So here's the two ways, but then it's also saying we want like a public set a void, right? So like a public void set action, and then we take an action type or whatever it's called, right? Action, and then we can do some shit with that, right? Do some shit. The issue, I would say, is the two ways I'm familiar of wiring things up like this. You would use either this one or you would use this one. Because, and here's the thing, right? If we're using this method, then what we could do is we could influence this variable from an external script, right? So we could set this value. Where is my line? We could set this value here from an external script and say, okay, it's going to be none by default, but if it suddenly becomes attack, then we go out to this. This is a clunky way of doing it, by the way. This is the way I used to do things. I know better now. I actually don't like doing it this way. It's clunkier. And then this could be private. One should be public and one should be private. But the better way of doing it is to actually have this public and this private. And then what the external script does is the external script sends the action to the action container inside the void. And then this is private. And then this action... In fact, we don't even really need that, to be honest, because we already know what action was set. But if we need to refer to this like out in... Let's say there's like another method in the script that needs access to that. Then yeah, just make it private. And in that way, this method can also look at that value and then maybe do different things based off of whatever was sent here. So yeah, you do need that if you're going to like, if you want to access it from a different method, which we may well want to do. But what's confusing me is it looks like we've got a public and a public. And then I thought we were doing like an invocation callback system. Yeah, they're both public. And so that makes me kind of nervous. Let's just let it cook. Let's just see what it does. But this seems a bit odd to me. Ambiguity, and we've got this ambiguity. What's this? Ambiguity between battle runner player chose action and battle runner player chose action. What? Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay, that's fixed that. I guess I didn't know about that. So now we have this public function of set player action. I like to use little set player action type action, chosen action equals action. okay. But that seems kind of dangerous. The reason that I wouldn't say it's dangerous, but it's clunky at best, because as soon as you have two as soon as you have two, you've got to remember, right? This script is probably going to be used, I don't know, 2 months from now, when maybe it's a while since I set this up. And so I should be able to glance at this script and instantly know how I'm setting the action. And the problem with this structure is I'm looking at this script and I'm saying, oh, okay, I have a public void, so I guess I call this. But if I don't see this, and at first I see the public enum, I might think, okay, well, I just need to change that enum. But again, I'm moving away from this method, even though that's the one I used to use. And I'm sort of going more for this method now, because I think this is cleaner. But then I'll normally make this private, because another script shouldn't need access to an exposed variable like that, because it should be handled internally. Because it is safer and cleaner. Anyway, it's fine. We could change it if we want. Update and run manual mode. Now run manual mode can wait for the UI to set chosen action. Well, actually, yeah, it did say... it didn't give me the errors anymore. So in run manual mode, let's just grab this new run manual mode method. Wait, why did changing is alive? Did that just... Wait, what? Eh? Why does changing is alive to the correct is alive make core.decide a skill fail? I wonder if it's just because this is where the checking kind of stopped, right? It's almost like when I changed that, the variable's actually, like, it's actually testing the variable. I wonder if that's how the ahead of time debugger works. I don't know. Hovering color so bright. I don't have my battle core open right now, so I need to take a look at my battle core, I guess. Why am I in core? Decide skill is asking for a battle entity of the attacker and a bool of is it the player's team? And my AI thinks that it wants this. It wants an action now, I guess. What's this final bool supposed to be? Yeah, it's not clear from this structure what it thinks the two bools should be. So, like, I'm following along. Here is obviously our actor. Is which battle entity is performing the action. Let's have a look at core again. And the bool is player team. I like to get rid of redundant variables. To be completely honest, bool is player team seems redundant to me, because we should be able to figure out whether the battle entity... Yeah, we don't need that. Okay. but we are going to need a way to receive the action. So bool is play team is redundant. So let me just give Jibbity some feedback here. Okay. Where is it calling decide skill? We've got decide skill and perform skill. Okay, I'm going to give Jibbity some feedback on this. Now I need to let the core know which action was chosen. However, I'd like to streamline these functions. 1. Decide skill versus perform skill. Sounds like decide skill is the AI part picking the skill. Should manual mode be using perform skill instead? 2. Bool is player team is actually redundant since the battle entity has an is player bool directly attached, so we should probably ditch it. Here are the current methods. And I always like to, it's working out well for me actually. I don't think AI has a mood, but if you think about it, it's predictive text, right? So I can prove that this is a real thing. I think this is why people think that it's conscious or it's alive or something. If I start saying, give me the code now, you dumb bitch, it'll start being like hostile towards me. Is it because I made it mad? No, because it's not real. But it's because it was trained on an infinite, well, not an infinite, but a lot of internet text, right? So when it's reading forum posts and people and one person gets mad in a forum post, it predicts that it should then get mad back, right? Because it's a glorified autocomplete. And so even though it doesn't have more emotions or feelings or whatever, you know, if you speak to it professionally, you'll get professional responses. If you speak to it politely, it will respond back politely. Again, not because it's sentient, but just because it's going to it's auto predict. So how should it reply to you if you're being polite? It should probably reply politely back, because that's what it's seen in all of its training data, right? So that's what you'll get back. So anyway, long story short, I like to say, what do you think at the end? And I seem to get better responses because it's less like, you know, oh, you're an idiot and you got this wrong, or like, do this, do that now. It feels more like, hey, you're collaborating with me here. I respect your opinion. And honestly, just adding what do you think at the end of a lot of these things does, I feel like I get better responses back from it. And it kind of like, I think it kind of gives me more nuanced thought processes as well. Like, oh, you know, you want to know what I think? Well, here, let me actually think for you. Rather than just like, oh, let me just automatically spout some bullshit back at you. Now, I could be wrong. It could be a coincidence. Who knows? But I've had good results just by asking what do you think at the end of a lot of these things. Yeah, you've nailed the right instincts here. Let's break it down. Decide skill versus perform skill. Decide skill. This is your AI logic. It looks at resources, skill points, energy, and picks the best skill for an AI attacker. It should only be used for enemies or auto battle mode. Perform skill. This is the execution logic. It applies damage, spends resources, updates states, etc. It should be used by both AI and manual mode. So yes, in manual mode you should skip decide skill and just call perform skill with the skill the player chose. In auto AI mode you call decide skill first and then pass the result into perform skill. So it basically just, in a very long and convoluted way, just kind of admitted that it was wrong. Because in the code it just gave me, it was like, hey, now you would call your decide skill right from, where was that? It wasn't core, was it? Was it battle runner? Yeah, it was battle runner. But really we should be using perform skill. So this should be perform skill. Also, it's not going to work because we're passing too many variables to it. And I'm also interested in getting it to drop that unnecessary bool. And then we also need to pass the enum value of the attack type to the new method, to the new function. So yeah, me and Jibbity right now are in perfect sync with each other, which I really like. I like it when it feels like we're on the same team. We're not fighting against each other. It's always nice. What I don't like is when it's like the arrogant boss who's like, just, you did this wrong. You broke this. It doesn't work because you did this and you did that, and it was really just its own code that broke everything. And it's like, no, you're like the arrogant boss who comes in and, let me fix this, breaks everything, and then shouts at everybody because it doesn't work. Okay, is player team redundant? You're right again. Oh, I like this. I like where this is going. Every battle entity already has entity.isPlayer. So instead of passing bool isPlayer team, just use attacker.isPlayer. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so with that in mind, it's given me new decide skill and new perform skill. So let's see if everything checks out. I mean, it didn't have to change much, right? And it should have allowed us a way to now receive the attack. Skill type skill. Yeah. And I think that issue there is the bool that we just dropped, right? So that was, is it player team, I assume. Let me just look at the function again. So we are calling perform skill, and we want the battle entity of the attacker, we want the battle entity of the target, and we don't have a target on here. Oh shit, yeah, that's true actually. I suppose the UI would normally, that's interesting. That's just made me realize that I forgot about a part of this process. That is true, right? So obviously in an RPG, I have my action buttons here, right? So if I was playing right now, I would be expecting to see some enemies in front of me, and I decide if I'm attack, skill, ultimate, depending on what's available to me. But then after I press attack, there could be up to 4 enemies in front of me, right? So then I need a way to sort of like cycle enemies. Because if I just press attack and it just attacks one enemy, then that system doesn't allow me to change enemies, which seems somewhat limited. And so I think the best ones, there's lots of ways to make that work. Let me just grab a snipping clip. But my preferred way is, so let's say we have some enemies here. My preferred way is to actually click on the enemy. So I would click here as number 1, right? And then I would click here as number 2. Or actually, the good RPGs let you just double click one Actually, yeah, no, that's incorrect. Okay, so this is where, and we need to program it correctly, so we need to fully understand this. So that's not true either. The way it needs to work is this is 1 or 2, 1 and 2, or it's 1 and 3. Right, and the numbers are stages, the numbers aren't buttons. So it's either 1 and 2 or 1 and 3. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is you click attack and it will highlight the default enemy. And if I'm happy with that enemy to be just auto attacked, because I might just be like, yeah, I don't care. I'm just, I don't make me. And this is what Madoka does, and this is why I think Madoka's really, really well thought out. And to be fair, a lot of RPGs probably do the same thing. But rather than force me to drag my mouse and confirm the enemy when it's already highlighted, Madoka just says, okay, if you double click attack, then we're going to attack the automatically selected enemy. But if the player wants to change enemies, which they may well want to do, then the player can instead click an enemy. So this would be their second input, right? So that would be 1, this would be 2, and then you go back to attack and hit 3. We could even make it so that double clicking an enemy to save you going back there, because I always like good player choice. Good UI design and good quality of life is good player choice, right? So I'll actually program my system so that you can either, if you want to switch enemies, you can double click the enemy. You don't even have to go back to attack if you don't want. Or if you just want to single attack an enemy, you can double click attack. Or if you want to click the enemy and then go back and click attack, you can do that as well. So essentially there are 3 ways to attack an enemy, right? There's double attack way, right? Which is only going to let you attack the auto-targeted enemy. Then there's attack, switch enemy, attack, which is going to let you attack whichever enemy you switch to. Or there's attack, double click enemy, and it'll switch to that enemy and attack that enemy. I think that's the best way that it could work, because then you've got a lot of different ways to interact with the buttons and the enemies. So that's how I want it to work. But we need to spawn the enemies, right, before we can set that up. So as for right now, what I'm going to need to do is enemy select to be implemented. So for now, we'll do a battle entity. Because it's in a switch, it doesn't let me do it there. Okay, so instead, what we need to do is put that there. And then here we can say battle entity, enemy target. And for now, we'll just set that to null, so that we can see where we're setting that. Well, I don't want to say null, I want to say enemy target, right? Right, because our method's expecting an enemy target. Yeah. And then our skill type, and then we drop the final bool. So there it is in its completeness, except this is sending a string, which we don't want. So we just want this again. We want player action type dot attack. We just cast this. Actually, is chosen action the action type? It is, isn't it? So we could just say chosen action. No, apparently chosen action is not. That is a battle runner player action type and not a skill type. Okay. Yeah, so we just, in that case, we just cast that instead. Oh, it's not even that. Can I convert from battle runner player action type to skill type? So what the fuck is an action type? Because here it says skill type, skill. And it doesn't like that either. Okay, now I'm very confused. Cannot convert from string to skill type. But we're not asking for a string. Oh, hang on, let me make sure this is saved. It might be that it wasn't saved. Now it's saying it doesn't take 4 arguments. We're not giving it 4 arguments. Okay, it changed its mind. Cannot convert from string to skill type. What? It's not asking for a string. It's asking for a skill type, you muppet. This is definitely saved, right? Yeah. Okay, I'm confused. Because our perform skill is literally asking for a skill type of called skill. And if that isn't a skill type, then I don't know what is. I mean, it couldn't be any clearer, right? So, like, I don't understand why it thinks that that... But it's also saying that perform skill doesn't take 4 arguments, but that might be... Yeah, it's that method was used elsewhere in script. So I suppose we're going to need to update the other... okay, this might be why it's failing. So we were using that method in our previous implementation as well. So decide skill wants an entity and a target. var target get next target entity is player. If target is not null, decide skill now just probably wants an entity. Yeah. And perform skill, entity target, skill, and then we drop entity as player. Also, skill was previously... Yeah, skill was previously part of our schema for the calculation mode. So it makes sense to use the same skill, right? Because we want to build one function that handles all 3 modes. But what is this skill? Skill type, skill. var skill equals core.decide skill entity. So what does decide skill return? Skill type dot attack. Well, that's what we're saying here. So it still makes sense to me that that's what we should be passing in there, but apparently not. I'm very confused. I'm very confused by that. Let's fix these ones first. So we no longer need to say whether it's the player entity or not, because we can just figure that out in that method. Decide skill entity true. Just decide skill. Perform skill. Decide skill. Perform skill. Okay, so now we literally just have those 3 errors, which I don't understand. Okay. Okay, let's see what it says. I see exactly what's happening. You've got a double call to perform skill inside your switch. That's why Unity is complaining. The inner call core perform skill returns void. You're trying to pass that void as the third argument to the outer call. What? What does that mean? You only need to call. You only need one call to perform skill. Just map your player action type to skill type first, then call your perform skill. Oh. That. What are you doing, you stupid Visual Studio? What did I select? God damn it. The if player is not null. That is what I pressed last time, you son of a... Nice lady. Yeah, that's shorter, but I'm still not sure. So what was the one that I had before? So we had it like on this side and this side, but we only wanted it. Oh, I'm still confused. But now it basically sets the chosen skill and then passes the sort, which is much better actually. And now it just passes the skill along with the player and the target. Yeah, that's quite nice. Perfect. This got me thinking about the enemy select part and how it should work. I'd like to support 3 different click interaction flows, let's say, for this. 1, A, player clicks attack. B, auto enemy selects highlights. C, player confirms by clicking attack. Again. 2, B, player clicks attack. That's not B. That's A. B, auto enemy highlights. C, player clicks new enemy and highlights D, clicking enemy again, attacks. Or 3 is basically that. Player clicks attack again to confirm. I'm about to test the enemy spawn script, but not sure how we can support, yeah, the player being able to click an enemy in world space. Is there anything I need to add to the prefabs, enemy prefabs? I'm about to test the enemy spawn script, but not sure how we can support the player being able to click an enemy in world space. Is there anything I need to add to the enemy prefabs in order to support this, in order to implement this? Okay. Yes, you're thinking about this exactly the right way. That's how all your bloody responses start. To support enemy selection in world space, clicking on enemies in the 3D scene, you'll need to make your enemy prefabs clickable and then wire that into your battle system. Let's break it down. What you need on enemy prefabs: a collider. Unity needs a collider to detect clicks. Add a box collider, capsule collider, or mesh collider. I'll go with capsule collider to your enemy prefab and make sure it covers the visible model. Alright, let's do that now. Actually, they're not really prefabs. Actually, they're actually stored game objects at the moment. They don't actually need to be prefabs either, to be completely fair. So he's our little guys. He was a skeleton warrior. Big fat warrior. Fighting in my dungeon. Fighting like a gungeon. I don't know. Center. Where's the height? There's the height. Okay, lovely, lovely. I gotta be careful though, because if I put a collider 2 under the feet, I don't know if he'll like wobble. No, because we're not using physics to be fair. At least not yet. We might end up using physics. I have no idea. I don't think I need to. The bigger I make it, the easier it is to actually click the enemy. That seems fine, I think. What I should have done, because they're all the same size basically. I thought I could paste components here. There we go. Genius. Frickin' genius I am. Right. So there's our enemies with our colliders on them. Okay, looking good. Looking good. And then we need an enemy click script, a small script on the enemy prefab that listens for clicks and notifies the battle system. Ooh, enemy click handler. Alright, that sounds good to me. That sounds beautiful. Yes, he was a skeleton warrior. Fighting in my dungeon. Can't we just use my tried and tested system controller method? You know, the old reliable. And then we can just say system. Well, battle runner would have, I can get to the battle core. So for the battle runner, I could just say battle runner equals system battle core get component battle runner. That's so much cleaner. And then we need an on enemy clicked entity receiver function, which I assume it's also given me. Oh, hang on. Yeah, that's another thing, isn't it? Visual feedback. Okay, a small script on the enemy prefab that listens for clicks and notifies the battle system. On mouse down works with colliders and the default Unity input system. If you're using the new input system, you'd use raycasts instead, but this is the simplest. Yeah, I think I'm not actually. I think I actually ripped that out, which is usual. It's unusual because I was a big fan of the new input system, but here's the thing, right? This game, I wanted it to be click only. This entire game is going to be 100% clicking, unless you're chatting with the chatbot, with the Clover chatbot. That's the only time you'll ever need a keyboard. Everything else in the game is going to be left mouse click only, because I wanted like a simple clickable game. I don't know, like it's an auto battler, right? So I want everything to just be single left mouse clicks for the most part. And so when you just want single left mouse clicks, I actually think the new input system does more to get in your way than it does to help you. The new input system's great for like DualSense and gamepads and stuff like that, but if you're just doing clicks, I think the old input system is way better because it just keeps things simple and easy. Yeah, so we are using the old input system, which I had to actually remove it because it comes as default now in 6.1. Highlight feedback. To show which enemy is auto-selected or clicked, you'll want a highlight effect. I will indeed. I will indeed. Options. You could use an outline shader. Oh, they're good. Yeah, I've used those before. Let's look at... Should we look at Madoka? Madoka's my biggest influence for this game. I played tons of Madoka last night. I got the new character, by the way. Hey, I got the new character. Yeah, I actually got... The only other time... So there's only 2 rate-up characters I've managed to get in the entirety of this game. And one of them was... Oh no, I think I had to buy her out the shop, actually. Yeah, one of them was the... I don't know, I can't remember. I either had to buy Special Madoka out of the shop, or she was so late that she wasn't, you know, she wasn't that far off from me having to buy her out of the shop, if I remember correctly. So this is actually the first time... I mean, I've got tons of the standard characters, but this was my first time getting like a rate-up character, just like outside of Pity. I thought it was a Madoka, but she's not a Madoka apparently. She's got some other name. She just looks like Madoka. So I actually thought it was another Madoka variant, but it's actually not. But yeah, I got her last night. She's sick actually. Because she increases speed, she increases attack, I think she increases defense. She's like a buffer. Yeah, and I was using her in the raids last night and she was pretty sick. So this is my biggest influence. I do love this game. I both love it and hate it at the same time. It's like I love the game, but I hate the gacha. capped right now, so I should spend some energy on something. Well, we just got a purple unit, so I'll get some purple gems, I guess. Actually, I need to get... Oh, that's a good point, actually. I need to get one of these for my new unit. So I think she's dark. Oh, there she is. So let's do this. This one says suggested 47,000. What's the next one? Yeah, it's a little bit out of my league. Maybe we could handle it. Let's just stick with very hard for now. Doesn't she just look like Madoka though? I thought it was Madoka, but apparently it's not. I just thought it was a different Madoka, but it's not. Yeah, this is perfect because I want to test the manual battle as well and see how it looks. So, the real reason I'm in here... Yeah, they are using an outline effect. I couldn't remember how they were doing it in this, so mine's going to work the same way. I also love the way the camera just, like, centers on the one you click as well. That's really nice. I'm basically just remaking this game, if I'm being honest. Yeah, that's really, really nice. I really love that. This is so... It's so well... I bet it does exactly what I said. Oh, okay, so in this one you can't double click the enemy, you have to go back to attack. But on mine you'll be able to just double click the enemy. Okay, so we have made one improvement to Madoka. But I'm copying this. Yeah, and then it kind of just... It uses a very thick outline effect. And it glows sort of between red and orange. On whichever one is selected. And the camera also... it doesn't center on the enemy. It's definitely not centering on the enemy. But it's like... it's almost like it applies the same amount of offset to the camera. It's like it measures the difference. Here's what I think it's doing. I think it's calculating the distance from the object you're currently on to the object that you click. And then it swings the camera to cover that distance. That way the framing stays, however the camera's focused, because the camera's not centered there. That's pretty close to the center, I gotta admit, but that one's not. This is like more than 2/3 away along the screen. It might not even do any calculation, it might just be a subtle little camera turn. That could just be a set amount of camera turning. Yeah, either way I like it. It's very, very cool. I like this animated floor texture as well. This game is fucking sick. This is one of the best RPGs I've ever played. It's so good. If this was a single player game, this would... If this wasn't a gacha game, this would probably be my favourite RPG of all time. I'm not gonna lie. It's that good. I mean, I don't know if it beats Persona 5. Persona 5 is fucking awesome. But it would definitely be my second favourite RPG of all time. But because it's a gacha game and the gacha kind of sucks, I can't actually say that. But yeah, this game is so good. Like as a technical creative product, it's fucking amazing. It's just the gacha that ruins it. Yeah, I think this is better than Star Rail. Like, I genuinely do. Not like as a game. Star Rail's the better game. But as a turn-based RPG, this game is way better than Star Rail. Star Rail's not even a frickin' turn-based RPG anymore. It's so ridiculous. But this game is like... Yeah, this game really is a very well balanced, crafted, paced, technically crafted JRPG. One of the best I've seen. It's so well put together. I can't praise it enough. Like, as an actual RPG. But it's just a shame that it's a fucking Japanese gacha game, so it's greedy as fuck. Yeah, this game is great. As an RPG, this game is fantastic. Okay, so I think that's my first piece I can use on her. Precise impairment. Doesn't look like I can click it to find out what it does. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let this run in the background. So we should probably mute it actually, because I get copyright struck for this game. It's so stupid. Yeah, this game's music actually gives me copyright strikes. Which is so ridiculous. But yes, it does. I guess what I should do then is... Oh, that's the thing. I would want the music in the background, nothing else. But the music's going to get me in trouble, so... Yeah, this on YouTube, this is probably already copyright flagged now. It's so ridiculous. Alright, so I need to get some pieces for her actually, so I'm just going to let that run in the background. But we'll get back to the project. Yeah, so I don't see any point in reinventing the wheel. Well, you'll see how much this game influenced me, right? Like, I'm not trying to hide it. Like, my UI is practically the same. Because I fucking love the UI. That's one of the best UIs I've ever seen in an RPG. It's so fucking good. There's a couple of differences, but, like, it's very, very close. Because... You know, it's great. I think they did an amazing job. I really do. They absolutely nailed it. Yeah, I think I'll go with the same thing then. I'll go with an outline shader, glow material, floating arrow marker above the enemy. You can toggle this in enemy click handler. Set highlight bool active. Battle runner integration. Public battle entity. Selected enemy on our battle runner. I suppose it's kind of related to action callbacks in a way. So I'll put it with this lot. And then we have a on enemy clicked function. Where it's asking for a click handler. Right, we've got some mismatches. Battle entities, selected enemy, get private set. Enemy click handler. It's expecting a click handler on the enemy. Okay, so what it wants me to do is on the enemy, a selected enemy, which is a battle entity. Okay, so each battle entity now has to have a click handler. So we could do a public enemy click handler, and then if is player, else enemy link is this, and we also want to say click handler equals get components this game object. Why doesn't it like that? Is this because this isn't mono behavior, is it? This isn't mono behavior. Yeah, so I can't do that because this isn't mono behavior. Okay. Right, I can't add the enemy click handler to the battle entity class because it's not mono behavior. How do we get to it? Wait, battle entity, yeah, but battle entity isn't on the game object anywhere. It would need to be on the enemy script. So we could put it on enemy link. Because enemy link is mono behavior. Oh, okay, yeah, so we could just say click handler equals enemy link game object get component enemy click handler. No, what are you doing? There. Okay, I answered my own question. But it's still complaining. Why is it complaining? Did it give me a click handler script? No. Okay, so I managed to add the... Oh, because, yeah, no, it gave me a set highlight function, yeah, which I don't know how that's going to work yet. Yeah, no, it did give me this little set highlight thing, didn't it? Yeah, which was this. It's just, I didn't add it because I'm like, well, I need to get an outline shader first or something. So if we go to enemy click handler. Also, it doesn't like that runner on enemy clicked. entity. What is happening? On enemy clicked. Battle entity. Okay, now what's it complaining about? Perform skill. Runner does not exist in the current context. Because I accidentally wrote it in capitals, that's why. There we go. Okay, it's time to back the project up, I think. That was quite a lot. Okay, we're looking good. So the next stage is, I don't think I have, I can't remember, do I have an outliner in here? I don't think I do. I've got double-sided shadering, I've got a rasterized shader graph effect, I've got toon glow, shader graph and script control effect, and I've got a toxic bubble effect. I don't have an outline effect right now. So the next step is I need to get an outline effect for built-in render pipeline. So let's save the project. Set another one of those off. I answered my own question, which is always nice. So let's just back it up. Oldest backup is from the 4th. We could probably do the next level up on this, actually. Try and get her a better piece. Especially if I give her the piece that we've got. Oh, nice. We got a purple one. Tarring Offense Plus. That's probably not a bad piece, actually. Let's take a look at it. Increase attack by 15%. Nice. Okay, so this will give me the substats, right? Debuff resistance 1%. Debuff hit rate by 1.5. Well, she's a buffer, so that's not good. She's not a breaker. Is there a buff hit rate? So far, I've only ever seen debuff hit rate. Crit rate and crit damage. She's not really a damage dealer. Attack and crit rate. Max HP and attack. I wonder if buffers use debuff hit rate though, because I haven't seen buff hit rate yet. I've only seen debuff hit rate. So I wonder if that's actually the one you want. I wish it was clearer actually. The only thing I can think, see, if that's the case, then that one's going to be way better. But no, I don't think buffers work like that. I don't think buffers use hit rates, because she just applies like a 30% speed and attack increase every time she does a skill. It's like a flat thing. So it wouldn't rely on a hit rate, I don't think. So I think that's kind of redundant on her. Because that would be debuffers, right, who do need to, like, they need like an effect hit rate to actually hit the enemy. But she's a buffer. I don't think she works like that. Okay, we'll keep trying. Yeah, so I don't think there is a buff hit rate either, because that's not how buffers work, I don't think. So I have no idea what stats I should get her. Oh, that's a gold as well. But if it doesn't do anything, there's no point. I should check her kit. Maybe she does debuff somewhere in a kit. I don't think she does though. So she buffs herself, swallows Providence. So that wouldn't count as a debuff. Decreases her own speed, but increases everybody else's by 23% and attack by 33%. On attack by allies other than self, deals 33% additional damage. Increase all allies' damage dealt by 37% for 2 turns. Yeah, I don't see any debuffing in a kit at all. I don't think she debuffs at all. So why it keeps giving me... Maybe... See, I don't know if it could be the dungeon or the type. This is probably a temporary piece for her anyway. Yeah, even though it's a gold... I mean, as crazy as it sounds, a gold max HP increase might actually be better for her than anything else. Because she's not a damage dealer, so she's not going to benefit from attack or crit. Although I don't know if she scales her buffs off of attack or something like that. Let me check again. Let me read it again. The additional damage she does is based on the applying unit's attack. I don't even think that's her own attack. Yeah, so there's nothing really... There isn't really a stat that's going to make her like massively better at anything, really. She's a pretty flat character, not just because she has no boobs, but also because... You know, she doesn't really... Nothing really scales off her own stats. So as crazy as it sounds, max HP might actually be as good as anything else on her, really. Because at least she's more likely to survive. I'll just leave it at that for now. Yeah, I will say though, this thing doesn't make any sense to me because here's what's so confusing about it, right? Is it looks like it's asking you which element do you want to farm, right? So you would assume that if you have a light character, you go to the light one. If you have a forest character, you go to the forest one, right? You go to the element for the character that you want to get the thing for. But that's not how this works at all. If I go and do the flame void right now, and I take her, she can get things here. So what I don't understand is what's the difference between these elements, because those upgrade stones have nothing to do with elements. So why are the dungeons that farm them split into elements? And it almost seems like we were getting a lot of debuffer stuff here, right? So it feels more like this is the debuffer one, but instead it just says dark. And then I've noticed you'll get like heal ones from like one of these or whatever. So here's how it feels to me. It feels like these have nothing to do with the elements at all, and they couldn't be bothered or whatever. They've made a mistake. I don't know what the answer is, but it feels like the way this is actually set up is you'll get different types of gems that are more likely to offer certain types of buffs and debuffs, but there's no way to see what that is. There's no help on that at all. So if these actually said, like, you know, healing stones, attacker stones, buffer stones, debuffer stones, that would make more sense. And that's how I think they've set it up, but for whatever reason they just use the same fucking element separation icons that they use for the crystals, even though here it doesn't really make sense. So I don't know if that's like, if I'm going insane, but that's how it seems to me. But then there's no way to figure out which ones offer which types of buffs. At least not in the game there isn't. Maybe there is on a website somewhere. So yeah, that seems kind of like silly to me. But yeah, you'll see here, I don't know whether I can clear this because it's actually a little bit above my power level. But if I do, or if I do the next level down, she will get stones off this fight. And so then what's the point in the elements if they're not actually elemental? Do you know what I mean? It seems like they're more likely to offer certain types of buffs over other buffs. But then why aren't they marked in the UI? She's almost fucking dead. She is dead. Yeah, because I only got it yesterday, so she's not... I haven't got the resources to like build her any better than she is right now. So she's obviously not strong enough to survive this. Ren can barely hang on. I don't know whether we can clear this or not. We might actually clear this. Why does Madoka keep losing her ult as well? Lately she's been losing her ult a lot. I don't know if we will clear this, but if we take somebody else who can survive longer, we've got more of a shot, I guess. I'll just take my strongest team or whatever. I just wanted to play with my new unit, but she's not really as strong as the others yet. Yeah, this is gonna probably not work out. Fuck you. Came close. I came so close though, that's the annoying part. Yeah, if I take my actual A team, I should be able to clear that. But I don't know if she needs to be on the team to get a stone that will work on her. I think she needs to be on the team to get the stone. I think that's how it works. So either way I'm kind of fucked until she gets stronger. I can't really get anything better than what she's able to get on hard, I guess. But this lot could get better stones now, probably. Yes, down to one already. We got this. It's done. It's done. So none of these units are fire. And she got something she's had before, so it converted it. So did she, so did she. She got nothing. And then my defender unit got this purple one. But none of them are fire units. And we just did the fire dungeon. So that's what I mean by, like, this doesn't really make any sense. Like, why it's divided into elements. I'm assuming that the boss is of said element type or something, maybe. I don't know. What's my strongest power team these days? Probably the same as it was before. Yeah. These are my strongest units, and none of them are fire or water, which is the recommended units to take. Because the other place this game fails. This is why I think these games fail as gacha games a lot of the time. The other place this game fails is it's like Nikke, right? It's like I keep getting new units, but those units can never catch up to the units that I've had the longest, because it takes so much to invest in them that they could just never catch up. And so getting new units feels kind of redundant, because you're never going to have the new units outpower the old units. Like, so many gacha games make this fucking mistake. It's so dumb. When everything's based on like some abstract power level, and then you also, because these are like standard characters, right? I've got constellations on her, and like constellations probably on these two, I think. And so this is why they're the strongest units, because they've got constellations on them as well. But they're also standard banner units, so it's like, well, she's not, but the others are. And so that's another thing you'll find, is that you can't get limited units unless you're a whale. You can't get limited units to outpower the standard banner units, because you're actually getting constellations on the standard banner units eventually, which makes them that much stronger. And so what's the fucking point in getting new characters at that point? It's just like, it takes away the whole... And it's an impossible problem to solve, really, because if you make the new units vastly outpower the old units, like Tower of Fantasy, then you get accused of being pay to win as fuck, right? Because... what's the point in pulling the latest unit when the next one's just going to power creep them, and you know... But at least when that is the case, the newer units are the better units to have, right? So there's a reason to get the newer units. But yeah, it's like, it just seems like pay to win as fuck. But like, I don't know. The solution is to get rid of fucking constellations, have a little bit of power creep on the new units, you know, and now suddenly it's worth getting the new units. But they'll never do that, because if they can sell the whales 7 copies of the same character, that's a lot more money than selling them 1 copy of every character, obviously. So they'll never do that. Now they've figured that out. But then that's kind of broken the entire fucking leveling system of these games when you think about it. It just means that, like, as a free-to-play or a low spender, or even a dolphin, then it's kind of redundant pulling new characters when you really stop and think about it, because it's... Those characters are never going to catch up to the old units, so it's just an impossible situation. Goddamn gacha games. Goddamn greed. I just wish some company would come along that's like, you know what? We're sick of this shit. 1 constellation, 1 copy. Get rid of constellations altogether. They just break everything. And then just make the extra money through like fucking cosmetics or something. The whales are gonna whale anyway. So like just have like tons of just like Infinity Nikke or whatever, right? Just release shit tons of costumes with shit tons of parts, and then the whales will just whale on that, and it doesn't break the game for everybody else then. But the reason they don't is because they still have to pay like clothes designers, whatever, like artists. They have to pay artists to design the outfits, and then they have to pay 3D modelers to model the outfits, and then there's still a little bit of like coding to have the outfits on the characters, where they can just type some numbers into like a spreadsheet that says, okay, here's C1, here's C2, here's C3, here's C4, here's C5, here's C6, and it takes them no time at all. They just enter numbers into a spreadsheet, and there you go, problem solved. But it's not a problem solved, it just makes endless problems for all the players. So that's why they don't. It's just, it's so much cheaper and easier just to enter numbers into a spreadsheet and then make the characters more powerful with multiple copies. Because they just release one character and sell it to you 7 times. And this is why we can't have nice things. People need to stop fucking whaling in these fucking games, and they'll stop doing it. If they don't sell constellations, then they wouldn't fucking make them in the first place. But there are too many fucking idiots out there who have more money than fucking sense, who are happy to like throw thousands and thousands of dollars into these fucking games, buying the same thing over and over and over again. And so it's hard to blame. It's kind of hard to blame the companies and the developers if people are dumb enough to do that, and the amount of money that generates for them. It's no wonder they do it. I just wish people weren't dumb enough to do that in the first place. But they are, and they will continue to be. And this is why we can't have nice things. So I don't know, maybe the only difference between the elements is just the element of the enemy that you fight. And maybe it is just a coincidence that I keep saying the same types of things drop in the same dungeon. That would probably make more sense than if they've made each dungeon drop more likely to drop a specific type of thing, and then they fail to let the player know what those things are. But at this point, nothing would surprise me. Yeah, so I don't really see a difference between the elements, other than probably the element that the enemy is. And maybe that really is the only difference. I don't know. It's confusing. I just did... Didn't I just clear the very hard... Oh, I must have done... Did I not clear the very hard version? Or the extra version? I think... Oh my god. I think in both situations there, I didn't actually clear the hardest level. I thought I did. That was like the second hardest level. At least this one I actually do meet the power level requirements. Barely. But I'm also neither of the suggested elements, so this might not go well. Anyway, I need to do an outline shader for my game. Mirror, how are you? Pegging. Awesome, I think I'd like to use an outline effect around the enemy. I'm using built-in render pipeline in Unity 6.1. It's probably going to write me a friggin' shader. The only problem with shaders is unless it break from work, unless it supports everything from like alpha channels. Let me see. Am I using? I suppose for those enemies, I probably am using standard shader. You're working on a Sunday. Sinful, making you work on a Sunday. It's supposed to be the day of rest, the day of leisure. Yeah, so my little enemies should be using standard shader. Yes, they are. I already know what it's going to do. It's going to write me an outline shader, but that's going to be really annoying because it's probably going to break everything else. I have used outline things before. I'm on my break for one more hour and then I'm going back to work. Oh well, at least you got a break. Imagine that's probably like a lunch break, isn't it? Yeah, I used to work in call centers. Used to have to do Sundays there sometimes. Hated working Sundays. Hated it. And the worst part is we didn't like it was part of our contract, so we didn't even get like extra money for it or anything. Yeah, gone are the days where you get like double time and stuff for working things like Sundays. Huh. Those days are long gone. I don't have break days. For the whole summer season, I work every day. Every day! I suppose I work every day, but I work for myself, so... And I enjoy doing this stuff. So this is kind of like me turning my hobby into work in a way, but I also don't make money off it, because I feel like I'm still kind of learning. But I'm hoping to eventually monetize it. But right now I'm kind of trying to make a bit of a name for myself. I won second place in Unity's Winter Festival last year. I'm hoping to win first place this time. I don't know if that really makes a difference, but I'm using it as a way to kind of like prove myself to myself before I try and sell games. Is like I need to know I can make good games before I trust myself to start selling games. But I think we're getting pretty close now. I'm getting pretty close. But yeah, I think it's definitely very different if you're your own boss and you're working for yourself than like having to go into some employment somewhere and work for somebody else. It's a very different feel. Started 12 hours, then went to 16, back to 12 hours, and now down to 8. Yikes. Work yourself into an early grave. Well, I hope you enjoy what you do. If you enjoy it, it's not so bad, I guess, but if you hate it, like when I worked in call centers, I fucking hated it. Ugh, it's terrible. Helping old people with their iPads and stuff. I've had worse jobs. But yeah, I just freaking hated it. And that was the thing. All I wanted to do was come home and, like, you know, start making games and learning games. And that's why I moved back in with my parents, is because I realized you just can't do that. You can't work like a 35-hour, 40-hour work week and then learn to make games as well, because you just, like, you're too tired. By the time you know, the few hours you can get in here and there just isn't enough. And so as soon as I did that and I sort of put myself onto this full time, yeah, it made a world of difference. It's just too time consuming. All right, let's ask for an outline shader, I guess. Awesome. I think I'd like to use an outline effect around the enemy. I'm using built-in pipeline in Unity 6.1. Awesome, I'd like to use an outline effect around the enemy. I'm using built-in pipeline Unity 6.1. In Madoka, the outline is very thick and flashed red to orange. Can we do something similar? Yes, you can absolutely do a thick flashing outline in Unity's built-in pipeline. 6.1 still supports the classic renderer. This is a very common effect in JRPGs and gacha games like Madoka. And it makes enemy selection super clear. There are a few ways to do it, but I'll give you the most practical approach for built-in pipelines. Custom shader, I'm guessing. Options for outlines in built-in pipeline. Post-processing outline shader, screen space edge detection. Very flexible but requires a custom post-processing pass. Overkill if you just want outlines on selected enemies. Mesh outline shader, inverted hull. Duplicate the mesh, flip normals, scale slightly. Render in solid color. Gives you a thick, controllable outline. Works perfectly in built-in pipeline. You can animate the color, flash red and orange. Or Unity's highlight assets or third party. They're a free outline. Yeah, I've tried a lot of them. They all suck, especially for built-in render pipeline. Inverted hull outline shader. Here's a simple unlit outline shader for built-in pipeline. I'm working at our pharmacies. It's family business, but I had to come to the course since I had to take my uncle's part here since he passed away in March. Oh, sorry to hear that. Very sorry to hear that. I hope you're all doing well. So family business. Okay, well, I suppose that's probably better than working for some you know, some random company, I guess. At least you're sort of a part of it. Shared a custom outline. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Because, like, I guess the difference there is, you know what I mean, like, if I'd have slacked off at any of the jobs I've worked at or whatever, you know, then you can just get sacked or fired or whatever, right? And you have, like, very little say. Everything's all policy this, policy that. But I feel like if you were working for your own family's business, it's going to be a bit, you know, you're at least going to get seen as a human being and not just a number. I would hope. I would certainly hope. Whereas you really are just a number in these corporations, you know? And so, and that's I think that's half the problem. It's just like feeling like you're just literally an ape, a replaceable ape, and they don't give a fuck about you. So yeah, working for a family business at least sounds like you're actually a person. You actually matter. So I've never had that feeling working anywhere, to be honest. Because yeah, you're just a number, really. Shader. Unlit. Doing it temporarily since I'm studying IT and going to go down the rabbit hole of suffering while being a software engineer. Yeah, at least you've got that option though. Yeah, I get that. I get that. Like, you don't want to sort of make a career out of it or anything. But at least you got to look on the bright side, right? At least that is an option for you. And I think that's a better option than having to work for some, you know, big pharma somewhere who are just going to treat you like a robot. So yeah. Joining the dark side. So you're not going to go down the path that makes money, which is hentai games. Well, that won't be making money for long. It's getting banned everywhere. It's ridiculous. So now, as a UK citizen, I cannot, right, get this, right? My Steam account is 9 years old. I've been spending money with Steam for 9 years. And now I cannot look at, what's that game called? Honey, what the fuck was that? Honey Pot? Not Honey Pot. You know, like a stupid match 3 game with a few boobs in it. What the hell was that game called? Honey. Oh, it was huge. I actually have it, but I think I have a pirate copy. Yeah, something. Honey Select. No, not Honey Select. No, I'm thinking of the other one. Yeah, and I do know that one as well, Honey Select, but that's not what I was thinking of. Oh, what was it? The match 3 honey game. Match 3 honey game. Was it not called Honey? I'm sure it was something like... Because they made a sequel, and I think they called the sequel Honey Pop. There we go. Yeah, Honey Pop. That's the one. Honey Pop. I spelled it wrong. But yeah, I can't even look at this on the store page anymore as a UK citizen unless I get a credit card. Now, I've been there. It took me over a decade to get rid of my credit card debt. And I swore never again. I'm never getting another credit card ever again because it was brutal as fuck paying back that credit card debt. And so, yeah, so I wrote to Steam and said, like, you need to sort this out. Like, you can't force people to get credit cards to verify the age. Now, the reason they've done that, I think, is because it was the quickest, cheapest option. Yeah, this was a good game. It was just a bit, you know, it's just a bit silly. I mean, it wasn't that bad. It only had a bit of, I don't remember. I think there was a full nudity version, but I didn't really give a shit. But it's just anime girls. Like, who the fuck cares, right? But yeah, like, because of the UK Online Safety Act, Steam now have to verify ID or they can get, like, sued up the arse. And so they looked at the cheapest solution, which was, oh, let's just force people to have credit cards because you have to be 18 to have a credit card. And then if you don't have a credit card on file, then we assume you haven't... you can actually have sexual... I never played it for very long, to be honest. Apparently you can actually have sex with these characters, apparently. Which would probably just be a stupid wall of text. Yeah, I don't remember this game being all that explicit, to be honest. But yeah, so, and now they've removed early access for those types of games because I think early access, they wouldn't be able to verify your age and all this other stuff. So early access is now dead for adult games. Adult games are going to be limited. Their market size would have shrunk drastically because now you need a credit card on file to be able to buy them. So yeah, they're essentially, and then Visa, as you know, as you probably heard, like Visa and MasterCard have been forcing Steam and the likes to remove these types of games because some feminists in Australia complained. It's just ridiculous. And then meanwhile, in the United Kingdom of Great Britain, we have fucking children being raped, gang raped, and fucking pimped out by these fucking grooming gangs. And the police have been covering it up and looking the other fucking way. So like, oh yeah, we can't buy an anime game with boobs in it because, you know, think of the children. But the children that are actually getting fucking... injected with heroin and fucking pimped around and all sorts of fucking horror stories we found out about in recent years, and the government doesn't give a shit. So is it really about protecting children? I don't think it is. We all know it's not. It's just ridiculous. UK cooked, and tell me about it. Absolute clown world. Right, so it gave me a shader. I guess I'll put it in UI. I thought I had a folder for this. Yeah, I do. Outline color. Okay, that's good. So it's give us properties exposed to us. The problem with this, so I can guarantee you right now what's going to happen, is if I go to these... Oh, I don't even know whether you can do it like that. Because I guess these are packed inside of the... Do they all just have the same material? It looks like they've got the same material. Okay, so I copied the material. So if I set this material to our new custom outline shader, and then I apply that to the skeleton, yeah, everything turns to shit. And the reason why... Well, actually, there might be a couple of reasons why. It's set orange as the outline color. Yeah, you're setting orange as the outline color, but then... you know what I think it's doing? I think it's basically asking me to create a second copy of the model. Yeah, this isn't very smart, though. So what it's going to do is it's going to make a silhouette of the geometry all in one color that I can change during runtime. So I could do that and make it flash. And then it wants me to have a second copy of the model, I think, that's slightly smaller, that stands over the top of it to create the illusion of an outline. But this is like clunky as fuck. Oh shit, I didn't mean to press play. And it obviously means having two models for every outline that you want as well. So here's what I think it is wanting me to do. Let's just undo back to its original. So for this mage, I would need a second mage, right? Which I would call mage outline. And a mage outline's geometry would have this shader material. So now we have the original mage and the mage outline. I mean, it kind of works. And if I enlarge it, then it just kind of like misaligns with the original. Yeah, this isn't a very sophisticated way of dealing with the problem. And it means having two models for every... Mind you, if I go into the shader, maybe I can make it even thicker. We failed that one. Even though we actually met the requirements for it. What are the recommended elements on these? I don't have any green. Do I have anything? I mean, it also has light on it. This would probably be my best shot, I would imagine, because I've got two light characters at least. Oh, what am I doing? Right, so if we look at Madoga, okay, there's our outline effect for selecting characters. Has a real glow to it as well, actually. Yeah, it's definitely got some emission on there as well. So first of all, I would say ours needs to be a little bit thicker. Yeah, we could maybe get away with that. Because what I could do is I could just child the outline to the parent, so that's something we can just switch on and off. That way I don't have to like separately manage two separate models then. So I suppose we could. So that is the color. This is the width here. So if I wanted it to be twice as thick, what does that look like? That didn't look like it really got any thicker though. Also, I might as well just autopilot that now while I'm doing this. What does 0.2 look like? Oh, I just realized we have a... Oh, it gave us a little control here so we can actually make it thicker. But also it kind of... kind of goes a bit weird, doesn't it, when it gets really thick? That one doesn't look too bad. Yeah, adding a mission goal to the outline is a great way to make it pop, especially if you want the flashy Madoka style. Yeah, you know I'm just remaking Madoka at this point, right? I get ready to get back to work already. Alright, well, nice chatting with you. Take care. Don't work too hard, especially on a Sunday. Alright. You know what I'm picturing? I'm picturing freaking Boo Boo Pharmacy now. All I can picture is like, you haven't got a Chi-Chi like niece or anything, have you? Little zombie behind the counter. Yeah, I'm just picturing Boo Boo Pharmacy. Probably nothing like that, but for some reason that's all I can think of now. Right. That was supposed to give us emission. Oh yeah, there we go. But I don't know. I think the emission doesn't show up. Is my post-processing stack enabled right now? It should be. Yeah, my post-proc stack is on. It's set to weight 1. Our bloom is set to 3. It's probably that the editor isn't showing it in the editor, but in runtime it probably will. Okay, let me think about this. We could just attach the outline object as the outliner. So I'm just going to reference an outlined on the enemy script. And then if we parent the outlined version to the child, that's the opposite of what we want to do. If we parent, that sounds weird, parent the child. But that's what we are doing, right? Yeah, we're basically parenting the child to the main version and then linking to the child. Right. And then we need to do the same thing on the other skeletons. So we could probably get that outline material and actually just call it enemy outline. Because I think since it's using geometry, it doesn't have anything that's specific to that version, if that makes sense. So I'm still on the skeleton mage. We want this one now. So we're just going to call it outline. Second copy of the character with enemy outline. There we go. Yeah. That actually didn't look too bad, actually. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. It does the job. It makes it clear which one is selected. And by default, we want to turn the outline off. So then again, parent the outline, stick it to the top, off by default, link it to the enemy. Rinse and repeat, right? Yeah, that's not too bad to set up, actually. For some reason, the helmet is not affected. Because I don't know why, actually. Oh, because the head and the helmet are separate. Wait, where is the helmet then? Is the helmet on the rig? I confuse. Yeah, the helmet's on the rig. That's kind of annoying. But this is the rig for the outline, so we can just do it there, I guess. There we go. Yeah. ER. Okay, so now each skeleton has a child called outline that's linked in outlined. So if we go to our script that highlights the, I think it's on the click. Yeah, set highlight. So for now, what we'll do is we'll just say enemy is the enemy click handler on the enemy. I don't think I actually added these yet. But yeah, they're meant to be on the enemies. Yeah, the one thing I forgot to do. So we can say enemy get enemy equals get component enemy, because we're on that object already. Get component enemy. Also, let me just set off another one of these. Did we win? Yeah, we won. And I think that was like the high... Where did it? What did we even get? I didn't even notice. Yeah, because the red dot's gone now, right? So we can try... We can try this one. Right, so get enemy is get component enemy. Then we want game object outline is enemy outlined. Get enemy outlined. And then we can set outline set active to true. We still need to animate color cycling on that shader. So the easiest way to do that is I think it should be part of the enemies script, because enemies is basically the enemy manager, which manages enemies. If this thing ever stops compiling, there we go. So on enemies, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do two public colors. So I'm going to do a public color 32, color red, and a public color 32, color orange. Now we might not want to copy Madoka exactly. We don't necessarily have to go from red to orange. We could do like, because I feel like my game uses more like a baby blue, baby pink kind of colors, because it's like iDLE, right? So it's got that kind of like color scheme. Although we're using a lot of purples actually, but I don't know. We can leave it as that for now. Let's just call them color A and color B then, because like I said, I might want to experiment. I actually like the idea of bright green, because also we're like meant to be in like the internet, right? And everything's like cyberpunk and neon and that kind of thing. So I might end up using my own two colors. Okay, let's try our own two colors then, and we'll see what we think. If it's terrible, we can just change it back. So I'm going to use like a cyber green and a cyber blue. And what we want to do is we want to cycle to and from these colors. And we want to cycle the shader. So the other thing we need to do is reference the shader. And you guessed it. Perfect, you're almost there. You've got your two colors, color A and color B, and the outline shader reference. Now you just need to cycle between them over time and push that color into the outline material on each enemy. No, I don't. Do I? Does the shader... No, because all... That's not true. Because all the enemies are using the same shader, and I think the color setting is on the shader, isn't it? Or am I misunderstanding? Let me check. On the material, rather. Okay, the color setting is on the material. So maybe I should have referenced the material as well. Well, let's see what it's given us. So to cycle between the two colors, we use this ping pong. So on enemies, let's see what it's given us. It's given us... It wants the outline material. Yeah, I don't even think it wants the shader, actually. It's saying new material. Yeah. I don't want to add an outline material instance. It made it way more. I wish it should have used its brain there. I basically got confused. I thought the color was on the shader, which it could be. It depends how it's designed, right? But in fact, it set it up so that the color was on the material. So what we should actually reference is the outline material. Then literally this part, we don't need this part, this part. What is E? Rend E is get component in children renderer. We don't even need to do that. Yeah, all we need to do is set the material. Oh my god. What am I doing? Yeah, no. This is way too convoluted. So material, we'll just link. We don't even need it. This entire start function is now redundant. Hello, Pika. Welcome. I'm going to Control and Z my way back to this because I think I had a... Yeah, this is the part I still need. So basically, where I went wrong is I referenced the shader and I should have referenced the material, because the material is what has the color. And then all we need is the void update, which cycles the colors on outline matte. Right, so we have a flash speed, and I think I just want that to be like constant. That's probably a flaw, actually. So we can experiment with different flash speeds until we're happy. But then it's saying for each var E in enemies, we want E outline material, blah, blah, blah. We don't even need that. We don't even need that. All we need is that. And instead of E, we can just directly reference outline material. Nah, outline material does not exist in... Oh, it's because it's outline matte. Shader does not contain a definition because it still says shader. There we go. So, yeah. Had I have known that, I would have just set it up like that. America gets the gaming, while Asia gets the programming, and us viewers hope you get better soon. Can't be. I'm actually pretty much fine now for the most part. I'm just busy making this. I literally have 0 subscribers and 0 viewers, so like I'm not gonna stream that much. I'm just gonna stream my devlogs and get on with my game. So I'm not even gonna load my AI anymore because there's no need to. There's nobody in chat pretty much. The stream is dead, Pika, but I'm not going to stop streaming because I find it useful to have a devlog for the games that I make. But I understand that people aren't interested in that because it's long and boring and, you know, everything else. So, you know, it is what it is. But I'm not going to stop making games, you know what I mean, just so that people will start watching again. Because, you know, that would be silly. So it is what it is. But, Yeah, so the stream is just going to be devlogs for this pretty much, probably. If something fun happens and there's something, you know, that I want to, I'll probably will still stream games now and again, but yeah, right now I'm trying to get this done by Winter Games Fest, right? And there's still a lot of work to do, so I'm just cracking on. Right, so where is my enemies controller? There it is, and my outline mat is that one. Alright, let's see what we get. Didn't get much Genshin news today except for the Traveler Tales. What is this null reference? Skill points. Button action UI. Skill points. Where is my button action UI? Here it is. Skill points. Object skill points. We forgot to add it. That would be why. Skill grid. Skill points 1 to 5. Add. There we go. That should get rid of that error. Unlock that. Run it. Alright, so if we go over to our enemies, and we activate the outlines. The outlines should be, we're getting some more errors though. Entity system battle core, players slot number, character position icon UI. Character position icon UI. So they're on turn-based order, I think. I think the reason why is because we don't have... They're my character badges. Yes, it's because Party Manager has no characters, that's why. Yeah, those two color cycles look kind of weird. To me, it almost looks like it flashes green very quickly and then flashes back again. But it mostly looks blue to me. So, like, is it working? Kind of. But to me, it just looks like it sits on blue for most of the time. And it briefly flashes green. I guess that's kind of more interesting because it's kind of easier to see the change. Yeah, I think that's a bit more noticeable. Let's put it on the red then. So it actually goes from like red to blue. Also with the Traveller Tales, they're adding, I don't know what that is. They're adding an extra mode to it too, which unlocks Adventure rank 55. Is Traveller Tales the user generated content? Even though they say it's going to be challenging for the whales of that game. I don't even know what that is. What is that? Traveller Tales. I don't know. I haven't been following that. I told you I'll just wait till it comes out. I'm too busy really. So I'm not as on the ball with all this as you are because I'm not really paying attention. I'll just wait. When it comes out, I'll play it. Traveller's Tales. Upcoming content. Yeah, but what is it? Is it just the new Archon quest? It's probably the new Archon quest. I don't know. An event guide. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'll just play it. Oh, this is the stupid thing where you talk to people. That thing's terrible. I hate that thing. If it shows you where they are, it's not as bad. But like recently, they made it so that you couldn't track them. You had to like come across them as you were like scroll. Like you had to like fucking look for them like a needle in a hairstyle. Couldn't be asked. It's not worth it. You know, for what, like 40 primos or something? It's just not worth it. Yeah. Boring. I'm going to quote Farina. Boring. Not really bothered about that. If that's all it is. It's fine. I looked at what I needed to. As viewers will always try to come and support you since your project is kind of interesting to learn from, and even though you'll have less views until you play games again. I know it sucks. It sucks. Well, I appreciate it. But yeah, I don't know. It is kind of depressing. It's kind of depressing. But you know, I like making games, so I'm still gonna make games anyway. And the way I see it, if I'm at my computer anyway making games, like, and I don't know if at some point someone might, you know, say, "Oh, you don't know about making games. You've never made a game. Prove that you made those games or whatever." Well, then I've got somewhere I can send them and say, "Well, there you go. There's me making the game. Go watch me do it." And I don't know. Maybe I'll set up a Patreon in the future or something for like an upcoming game, and then I can say, you know, hey. It's to give me, like, if anything, it's like I'm trying to build trust and show that I'm not full of shit, right? Like, people say that Pirate Software was full of shit because he was like, you know, he still hasn't finished his game. Well, I'm not like that. I do finish, well, I'm going to try and finish my games. I mostly finish my games, and it's certainly, if I was going to take money off people on Patreon, I would definitely finish that game, right? Because, like, otherwise I think it's scamming people. So, like, if I ever find myself in that situation, then people can look at my thing and see that I do regular devlogs, and then hopefully that should make them feel like they can trust me to actually finish the project, right? So it's the way I see it. It's like I got to look at this as like investing in a future in a way. It's like I'm sort of I'm proving that I have the skills to do what I say I'm going to do, that I have the stamina to do it, right? Because this game's been like I started this game at the start of the year, right? So this is like 8 months of game development now. We're in the 9th month, so I've been making this game for coming up to 9 months. So these things take time, of course they do, right? Games make a long time to make. Especially when there's one guy making everything, right? It takes teams of people years to make freaking games that actually come out. And I'm one guy. So of course it's going to take time. Especially if I want to make them good. But, you know, the way I see it, I may as well at least show the process. And then also someone might get something out of that if somebody wants to make a game that's similar and they have the patience or whatever to sit and watch me for hours on end. Maybe they could get something out of it. I don't know. Said more in the article, including a new mod that's challenging for the whales. Yeah, we don't care, we're not whales. Right, I don't want to play this right now. I was mainly just looking at it for reference for the enemy select. I think I still need to spend my energy though. You can't, that's the other thing, you can't sweep this game mode, which is kind of annoying. Whatever, I'll just sweep this one. Oh, what the fuck? Ah! What's that I got? Crap. Right, we close that now. Okay, so my enemy outline is working. I now need to spawn the enemies in the dungeon. Oh my god. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I don't even really necessarily need to spawn the enemies. I could just move them. So if we look at my dungeon crawler, ugh, my god, I have so many scripts. So I need to be in scripts RPG. And this is part of the room dungeon generator script sequence. And I have a couple of scripts here. iDLE character is the one that moves the character. But I don't necessarily know. I don't necessarily know if this is the script that then picks the rooms or not. It was almost a week ago when I last worked on this one. You can leave the puzzle part news out if you want, so then you can't surprise. Yeah, I prefer to just, I honestly just prefer most of the time. It depends what mood I'm in, right? As you can see, I'm busy with game dev stuff. So when I'm in game dev mode, I don't really do much else because it's very time consuming. It takes a lot of my energy, thought process, everything else. But if I'm in, like, you know, if I'm just playing games and not making stuff, then maybe I'm more interested in stuff like that at that point. But it just depends where I'm at in, you know, in life. Right now I'm just not really that bothered. I think, I don't know, I'm sure it'll be fine, but I'm just I also have like a bit of a, you know, I feel like Genshin overall is going in a very bad direction, and I have, my expectations are, I wouldn't say low because it's always good, but like my expectations are wavering with every new fucking patch, let's put it that way. So yeah, I'm just really not that bothered. The thing I'm somewhat excited about is like the content creator stuff. I think that could be kind of the user generated stuff. I'm definitely interested in that, and I'm somewhat hopeful for that. But even then, I'm trying to temper my expectations. Room map manager equals find object of type room map manager. Get character. That is when we detect when we're running through corridors and when we're not running through corridors. If moving an agent, path pending, and the remaining distance is less than 0.5. So that's where we map when we reach the end of the destination, and then we do like find next target. But then at start, we would need to spawn the enemies. So this would be a good place to spawn enemies, except for the fact that this doesn't cover the first room. So I think it's actually the room map manager that we need to be looking at. God damn it, I can't even remember where I put it. Where did I put that? Okay, so it's just sat en route then. I thought this was the one. Jesus Christ. I am so fucking confused right now. I thought this was the one where I set the bool to say go to next room, go to next room, go to next room, because that's the one that I need. But it's not on there, so I'm confused. God, it's been a while since I last tested that. Alright. Okay, my food's ready anyway, I've got to go. Yeah! Come on! Jesus Christ. Alright. I'm gonna have a fucking fit if I don't teleport myself there immediately. I need to stretch my fucking legs first. Alright, I'm gonna leave it there and get some food. I will catch you next time. We can leave the puzzle part. Yeah, I already read that, didn't I? Alright, I'll see you later. Bye.